There are times in life when everything around us feels out of sync, like we've lost touch with our true selves. When we let internal chaos, driven by social expectations and ego-driven desires, take over our minds, we disconnect from what truly matters. But there's a way back, a method to restore that connection and transform our reality in a deep and lasting way. In this video, we'll dive into how the chosen ones can clear out this inner clutter, embrace the power of emptiness, and let the universe work its magic, bringing true peace and authentic purpose. Are you ready for this journey of spiritual and personal growth? Let's explore the keys to a full and genuine life together. True happiness isn't found in external achievements or the accumulation of material goods, as many people believe. It reveals itself when we can clear our minds of distractions and the chaos that society often imposes on us. This emptiness, far from being a state of apathy, is the fertile ground where our true essence can flourish. By letting go of social expectations and leaving behind experiences that negatively define us, we create space for genuine joy and lasting peace. Imagine your mind as a garden. If it's full of weeds, expectations, and ego-driven desires, the flowers of true happiness can't grow. But by removing those weeds, the ground is prepared for joy to bloom, a joy that doesn't depend on external achievements but on who you truly are. By letting go of desires driven by the ego, which are often fueled by a constant need for external validation, we move closer to our true purpose. The ego, with its promises of happiness through material success and recognition, only pulls us further away from the essence of who we really are. When we can see beyond these traps, we realize that the endless pursuit of status and accomplishments never fills the inner void. It actually distances us even more from ourselves. The emptiness, which may initially seem intimidating, is actually an opportunity for deep spiritual transformation. By aligning ourselves with what truly matters, we find a happiness that doesn't rely on external circumstances but is unshakable and lasting. This is the state of being that connects us with the true essence of the universe and allows us to live in peace. Think about the areas of your life where the ego has led you to seek external validation. What would happen if you started looking beyond these illusions and sought fulfillment in who you really are? By doing so, you'll discover that true happiness isn't a fleeting high but a constant feeling of peace and alignment with your authentic self. The ego often makes us believe that we are defined by what we achieve, what we own, or how others see us. It builds a false identity based on external accomplishments and validation, which ends up disconnecting us from our true essence. When we identify with the ego, we start seeking satisfaction in fleeting things like material success, social recognition, and others' approval. This search is like trying to fill a sieve with water. It's never enough, and the feeling of emptiness remains. This illusion of the ego can be particularly powerful because, at first glance, it seems to give us purpose and a sense of identity. However, this identity is fragile and easily shaken when external circumstances change. For example, if our self-image is tied to our job, losing that job can leave us feeling lost and directionless. This happens because the ego builds its identity around things outside of our control, creating an invisible prison that keeps us trapped in a cycle of constant dissatisfaction. Recognizing that the ego isn't who we really are but just a mental construct allows us to start letting go of these illusory needs. Think about how the ego operates in your life. It makes you believe that happiness lies in reaching certain external milestones. But those milestones are always temporary and never fully satisfying. By seeing beyond these illusions, we realize that true peace and joy are already within us, waiting to be discovered. When we begin to see through the ego's illusion, we open the door to profound transformation. This doesn't mean we should ignore our responsibilities or desires, but that we should approach them from a place of authenticity, not lack. By doing so, we free ourselves from the tyranny of the ego and start living more fully and consciously, in alignment with our true selves. Think about the areas in your life where the ego has led you to seek external validation. What would happen if you started looking beyond these illusions and sought fulfillment in who you really are? By dismantling the ego's illusions, we begin to experience a form of freedom that once seemed impossible. With the ego in its rightful place as a tool, not the master, we can live a life of purpose and authenticity, connected to the truth of our being. The idea of surrender often carries a stigma of weakness or defeat, but in the spiritual context, surrender is actually an act of deep power and wisdom. Surrender doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or stopping all action. It means letting go of the need to control and the rigid expectations of how things should happen. When we surrender, we acknowledge that there's a greater intelligence at work in the universe, guiding our lives in ways we can't always fully understand. This acceptance brings us into harmony with the natural flow of life, allowing inner peace to blossom. When we surrender to the present moment, we start to see situations with clarity, without the distorted filter of the ego or mental projections. This act of surrender is like letting go of a rope we've been holding too tightly. Suddenly, we feel relief and a sense of lightness. Instead of fighting against circumstances we can't control, we choose to flow with them, trusting that the universe is guiding us in the right direction. This surrender isn't passive but an active way of aligning our thoughts and actions with the current of life, where we find true peace. Surrender also allows us to make room for the new. Often, we hold on to ideas, people, or situations that have already served their purpose in our lives, out of fear of the unknown. When we surrender, we let go of these attachments, clearing the way for new opportunities and insights. This process of letting go is essential for spiritual growth because it allows us to release what no longer serves us, making space for something new and more aligned with our purpose to emerge. Surrender, therefore, is a gateway to transformation, where resistance gives way to growth. However, surrender doesn't mean inaction. On the contrary, when we surrender, we act from a place of clarity and confidence rather than fear and anxiety. This mindset allows us to make wiser decisions that are aligned with our essence. By accepting what we can't change, we redirect our energy toward what truly matters and is within our reach. This kind of action, inspired by surrender, is always more effective and leads to outcomes that are in harmony with our well-being and the natural flow of the universe. Finally, surrender leads us to a state of deep inner peace. By letting go of the need to control everything and have all the answers, we find a space of tranquility where life can flow more easily. This peace is not just the absence of conflict, but a serene presence that permeates our lives, even in the midst of challenges. It's the peace of knowing that, no matter what happens, we are aligned with the greater purpose of the universe. And in this state of surrender, we discover that true strength lies in the ability to trust and flow with life rather than fight against it. Embracing the void is an act of courage that few are willing to face, but it is in this silent space that the potential for the deepest transformation lies. The void, often associated with a sense of loss or absence, is actually the field where all possibilities reside. When we allow ourselves to be in touch with the void, we're creating an opportunity for something new and authentic to emerge. Without the distractions of mental noise, we connect deeply with the present moment, where life truly happens. It's in this state of full presence that our true potential can emerge, free from the limitations imposed by the ego and the conditioned mind. Many of us spend our lives running from the void, filling it with activities, possessions, relationships, or entertainment. But this attempt to avoid the void only distances us from our true essence. When we stop trying to fill every empty space with distractions and simply accept the void, we begin to experience a freedom that once seemed unattainable. The void stops being a scary absence and becomes an invitation to explore the depths of our being. In this silent space, we find a clarity that allows us to discern what is truly important and what is just noise. Embracing the void also means accepting that we don't always need to have all the answers or be constantly on the move. The void teaches us the importance of simply being, rather than doing. It's in silence and stillness that we often find the answers we've been desperately seeking in the outside world. When we allow ourselves to be silent, we discover that the mind, once so noisy and confused, begins to calm down, revealing a peace that has always been there, waiting to be discovered. This peace is the foundation upon which we can build a fuller and more meaningful life. Moreover, the void challenges us to face our deepest fears, those we avoid confronting by filling our lives with superficial activities. By facing the void head-on, we give ourselves the chance to deal with the parts of ourselves that have been suppressed or ignored. This process can be uncomfortable, but it is essential for spiritual growth. The void acts as a mirror, reflecting back what needs to be seen and integrated. And by allowing ourselves to go through this purification, we emerge on the other side stronger, more aware, and more aligned with our true purpose. Finally, by embracing the void, we become capable of living in harmony with our higher purpose. We are no longer driven by superficial fears or desires, but guided by a deep connection with what truly matters. The void, then, is no longer something to be feared, but a powerful ally on our spiritual journey. It gives us the courage to let go of what no longer serves us and to make space for the new, for the authentic. And it is in this space that we find true freedom and inner peace, living a life that resonates with our highest truth. Consciousness plays a fundamental role in our spiritual journey, serving as the guiding thread that leads us through the layers of ego, illusions, and conditioning. The true nature of the mind, though often obscured by the incessant noise of thoughts and emotions, is inherently empty but full of potential. This apparent contradiction is where the key to spiritual awakening lies. When we recognize that our mind, in its essence, is a vast and limitless space, we can see beyond the illusions created by the ego and connect with a greater reality. This understanding frees us from the shackles of the ego, allowing us to live a more authentic and conscious life. Understanding the role of consciousness is essential to freeing ourselves from the distortions that the ego creates. The ego is a master at projecting our insecurities and desires onto everything around us, distorting reality and keeping us trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction. However, as we expand our consciousness, we begin to see these projections for what they really are, mental constructs that keep us from the truth. This perception allows us to act from a place of clarity and authenticity rather than reacting impulsively to the ego's illusions. It is through consciousness that we become observers of our own thoughts, identifying what is real and what is simply a projection. Consciousness, when developed, leads us to a state of full presence, where we are completely attuned to the present moment. This presence is the foundation for a life of inner peace and true purpose. When we are conscious, we are no longer prisoners of the past or anxious about the future. Instead, we live fully in the now, where life truly happens. This state of presence allows us to act with wisdom and compassion, both towards ourselves and others. It is in this state that we find true freedom, for we are no longer trapped in the ego's repetitive patterns, but aligned with the truth of our being. The expansion of consciousness also allows us to experience the interconnectedness of all life. When we see beyond the individuality imposed by the ego, we realize that we are part of a greater whole, that everything is interconnected, and that our actions impact everything around us. This vision inspires us to live in a more ethical and responsible way, knowing that what we do to ourselves and others reverberates throughout the universe. Consciousness guides us to a deeper understanding of our purpose and how we can contribute to the greater good, in harmony with universal laws. Finally, the role of consciousness is to guide us to a life lived in authenticity and alignment with our higher purpose. As we become more conscious, we start living a life that is not dictated by superficial desires or ego fears, but by a deep connection with our true essence. Consciousness allows us to navigate life's challenges with wisdom, seeing each situation as an opportunity for growth and learning. And it is through this expanded consciousness that we achieve a state of inner peace, living in full harmony with the universe and our greater purpose. Throughout this journey, we've explored how letting go of the ego's illusions and embracing the void can guide you to a life of true peace and purpose. As one of the chosen ones, you have the power to transform your reality by clearing out the inner clutter and aligning with the wisdom of the universe. But remember, real change begins from within. Imagine a life where the pursuit of external validation and material achievements no longer governs your actions. Instead, you find satisfaction in who you truly are, living in alignment with your authentic self. By applying these reflections to your daily life, you'll not only find more lasting happiness but also see how your life becomes fuller and more meaningful. Why not start today? Take a moment to reflect on the areas of your life where the ego has influenced your decisions. What can you do to break free from these chains and reconnect with your true essence? By taking these steps, you'll make room for the universe to work its magic, bringing peace, clarity, and purpose to your journey. If this message resonated with you, share your experiences in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. The universe is ready to guide you, it's up to you to take the next step.